So thank you everyone for taking time out of your schedules and joining me in this presentation. This is a masterclass session where we talk about three main areas. We talk about technical analysis, we can talk about EasyLanguage, or we can talk about strategy trading. Today is EasyLanguage, and we're gonna talk about one of the analysis types that TradeStation provides, which we call a PaintBar. We're going to get into the details of what a PaintBar is and how you can apply it on TradeStation, but most importantly, how you can create your own customized PaintBars. For those that are new to the masterclass series and to my presentations, my name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. And I always enjoy these classes because I get to meet you. I get to know exactly how you're using TradeStation and what your needs are. The whole purpose of what we do these classes is to help you get familiarized with the potential of TradeStation, because it's not just a platform to go in there and put in a trade. It has much more to help you, find trading opportunities. So let's go here through some of the disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone. It should only be done with risk capital, and that past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. Anybody that needs a little bit more information on these disclosures, please go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. So yes, today we're going to talk about paint bars, and paint bars are a specialized type of study that helps you identify bars or candlesticks that meet specific market conditions based on a defined set of rules. So yes, you define what those rules are going to be, and then TradeStation will color any bar that meets the criteria. They help you visualize and identify conditions that you're probably looking for historically and line up in combination with other studies. So we use a lot of paint bars as a way of enhancing technical ideas. For example, let's say that you're watching a moving average. Moving average is a simple, common, and very used technical idea. But if you want to enhance the visual of a moving average, you can probably paint every bar that is above the moving average one color, and every bar that is below the moving average a separate color. So it does provide you an enhanced visual where you have separation between bullish and bearish bars. So we can use paint bars for that purpose. And they're also used to capture valuable chart real estate. A lot of times, if you have an indicator using up a subgraph at the bottom of your chart, let's say you're looking at an RSI, the relative strength index, right? And you're using it to identify overbought and oversold levels. But you probably don't of your chart. You can maybe create a paint bar that color codes the candle whenever the condition of that technical idea is true. And it does allow you to save a lot of valuable real. But before we talk about paint language elements, I do this in as a review so that we're all on the same page. I know many of you may already know a little bit about EasyLanguage, may be experts at EasyLanguage. So it's always good to have a review and maybe a presentation of an idea that you're probably not familiar with. Every programming language is made up of a library of code elements and resources. In EasyLanguage, you're going to notice that a lot of the words that you type in are going to be color coded. We call that syntax coloring. So if you have a reserved word, for example, it'll be colored in blue automatically. It recognizes the word, it gives it a color blue, and blue is just a reserved word. It's part of the language, and EasyLanguage knows exactly what that word means. And when you use it, of course, it has that particular meaning. You also have functions that appear in magenta, and functions are snippets of EasyLanguage code that is pre-created for you, and you can use it, in any EasyLanguage code that you're writing. We are going to take a look at a couple of functions today, and you're going to see them as you type them inside of the EasyLanguage editor. The word will come up in magenta automatically, recognizing it as a function. We also are using specific punctuation for the most part. Semicolon is going to be one of the most common ones. That's just the end of a statement. Similarly, like you do in any language, if you're typing a paragraph, for example, and at the very end of the sentence you provide a period, because that's just the end of the idea. Same concept is in EasyLanguage. You supply the semicolon as a way of telling EasyLanguage, this is the end of my idea, I'm going to go on to something else. You have parentheses to not only control mathematical operations, but also to supply parameters to a function. Comma allows you to list multiple parameters. If it's parameters within a function, or if you have a list of inputs or a list of variables, it's just a way for you to list items inside the code. You have the quotations. Quotations allow you to create labels or text items. Those are very useful. I'm not sure if we're going to do any quotations today, but as I said before, this is just a review of some of the punctuation elements. And square brackets, we use those a lot because square brackets allow you to do a historical reference. Anytime you want to know what the value of a technical idea or a value of a particular candlestick is historically, the square brackets is going to help you. Are ways in which you can modify a technical idea on the fly without having to go back to the programming and change the code. So these are like little windows that are opened up for the study, allows you to get inside, do your slight modifications, and then come out again. Very useful. We see them a lot in the supplied indicators with TradeStation. If you open up, for example, the formatting dialog of a moving average, and you go to the inputs, you're going to have access to providing what is the price that's being used in the average, what is the parameter used for the fast or the slow average. So you're going to have a list of inputs that allow you to have flexibility in terms of modifying the calculations of a study. They may be used in your code to dynamically change the calculation or functionality of your study, which is exactly what we just said. They're giving a descriptive name, and they must be declared and given an initial value. For example, in a moving average, most of the time you have an average length so that it knows how many periods or how many bars to use in the calculation. So you can assign that as an input to allow you the flexibility of changing that parameter in the front end, in the platform, without having to go to the code every single time. Variables are going to be used as little containers that allow you to house specific calculations. And that, of course, is going to give you efficiency in your code. If you have a specific formula that you want calculated throughout your code, you can put that formula inside of a variable so that you can only have to, you only have to refer the variable. You don't have to continuously type the formula over and over again. Here's an example. Big buyer bar is a variable, and you can see inside parentheses is set to false because there are different types of variables. You have variables that are numeric meaning that they'll hold a number, and you have a formula in it. Like, for example, if you want to calculate the range of a bar, and you say high minus low. High minus low is going to give you a number. So that means that you need a variable that houses or contains a number, or a numeric variable. Those are initialized with a 0 inside parentheses. But this one that you see right there at the bottom that is initialized with a true-false expression is a true-false variable because it's initialized to one of those, either true or false. By doing that, anything that is inside of that variable or container, it's got to be true or false. It's going to have to be an expression where you're comparing two things like close greater than open. If you do close greater than open, that's either true or false on every bar. And that's the way that you use these true false variables. Uh, just a little bit on variables in case we go back here to the code and you have some, questions about it. Here's an example on a paint bar. The main part that I want to highlight, let me see if you can bring my cursor in here, is this plot PB. For most studies that we create here in class, we have a plot number. Plot 1, it can go up to 99. And most studies that you open up in TradeStation, like RSI or a moving average, they're going to use a plot number. But for a paint bar, we don't use a number. We use the letters PB, and the PB stands for paint bar. In fact, you can even spell out, the PB and type in paint bar with all the letters, but a short would be plot PB. If you open up the code of any paint bar that is supplied with a TradeStation platform, you're going to see that it uses this plot syntax, plot PB. And with the plot PB, you have to tell where is it that you want to apply the paint inside the bar. In this example that you see here, it goes from the high to the low. So it will just paint the whole candle from top to bottom. But this, of course, implies that you can section the candle with different colors. Like, for example, if you wanted to paint the top half yellow, if it has a certain criteria, and you want to paint the bottom half if it has a separate criteria. We could probably play around with those concepts in one of our examples. But let's go ahead. This is just an example of how the syntax would look like when you create a paint bar. In this case, this is a down bar. Close is less than the close of one bar ago. If the condition is true, then it paints the bar. We can recreate this example since it's part of the PowerPoint presentation, and you can see how easy we can do it on the TradeStation platform. Let's go back here to my TradeStation. Let me resize my chart. Let me change the symbol to spider. I'm going to pull up a 5-minute time frame. Here it is. In a candlestick chart, yes, it's very simple to identify the up candles and down candles because they are color-coded. Anytime you see a red candlestick, that's a down candle. And anytime you see an up, or anytime you see a green candlestick, it's because an up candle. But if you were using a different style, let me go here to style and use an open, high, low, close. If I use an open, high, low, close bar, then every bar is the same color. So here we don't have the concept of up bars and down bars, even though we can identify them by looking inside the bar and see what the open or the closing price is in relationship to the previous one. It's not defaulted to this up and down like the candlestick is. If you wanted to color code the candles so that you can identify down candles and up candles, then yeah, you can create a paint bar, and that's what we're going to do today. The default color of these bars is green, so I'm going to concentrate on the down candles and paint those red. So if we paint the down candles red, then we already have the green one, which is the default for the up candles. Let's go here to my development environment. I'm going to go to Apps and click on EasyLanguage. Okay. This is the TradeStation development environment. Let me go ahead and close up some of these indicators that I had open. I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to click on this little drop down for the new, and I'm going here to PaintBar. Just be mindful of the type of document you're creating. In this case, I want a paint bar, so I need to click on PaintBar. And let's go here and call this, I'm gonna call this @MC. A lot of times I use my initials, like I may say exclamation JN, and sometimes I use that. If it's a masterclass, official indicator, I title it @MC. So this is just a test. I'm just gonna call it exclamation JN. Adding a prefix allows you to group all your custom studies together. Remember that when you create studies in TradeStation, they're all sorted in alphabetical order. So if you don't provide a prefix, your studies are going to be scattered all over the place based on what letter they start with. But if all your custom work start with a prefix, meaning the same character or the same letter, then they're all going to be grouped together. Just a tip, just in case you find yourself creating multiple studies, they're all going to be grouped together. This is going to be a down bar, exclamation J and down bar. I'm going to click OK. And this is what we're going to do. Let's create, first of all, let's create a variable. Notice that the variable, it's a blue word. It comes up in blue because it's part of the language. This is the way that I declare the words that I'm going to be using, which is very convenient because you can make up your own words. In this case, I want to create a word that's called down bar. Notice that it comes up in black, so it's not recognized by the language. If I had typed in down bar and that word would have come up in blue, I would have, changed it so that it would be black. I don't want to create any conflict with the words that I'm creating and words that are already existing in the language. So in this case, my variable is a down bar, and I'm going to initialize this to false. Because a down bar is either true or false, right? It's either, it either meets the criteria or not. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to declare this variable first, down bar false, and then I'm going to assign what the true condition would look like. So down bar. So this is called the assignment. Assignment expression. You first declare it and then you assign it. So down bar is equal to close is less than close one bar ago. We said that historical references use square brackets. If you put in a 1 inside the square brackets, it's going to look 1 bar back. That's exactly what it means. I want the close on the current bar to be lower than the close of the prior bar, and that, of course, is going to constitute a down bar. So all I need to do now is create my if-then statement, because remember that a paint bar only paints the color on the bar if the condition is true. So this is what I need to do. If down bar, then plot PB from high to low, close parentheses. I don't need a label. I'm just going to keep everything simple. Of course, you can polish this code a little bit and make it, a little bit better. But at this time, I think this is what's going to make it work. I don't need anything else. And I want to make the code simple so that you know and you can follow it very easily without any complications. Let's go ahead and verify this. I'm going to click on this green checkbox at the top. All right, so now, all right, so notice the verification process is pretty cool because it actually highlights the area where it gets stuck. If you guys take a look at my code, it highlighted my colon, and right here at the bottom, it's telling me an equal sign is expected here. I accidentally typed in a colon when I actually need an equal sign because I am assigning an expression to my variable name. Okay, so I made that change. Let me go ahead and verify one more time. Now I have no errors and no warnings. You see that at the bottom, and my code is verified. So let's go ahead and now take a look at the color and the style. The properties of a paint bar are very easy to set. I'm going to right click and go to properties. Because paint bars by default will go on top of the candles. So you don't have to really deal with scaling. In fact, notice how scale is not even here in this properties dialog because they are designed to go always on top of the bars. But what I'm going to do is go to the chart color and decide what color is my paint. Let me go here to this drop down and I'm going to use red. We wanted to highlight down bars, right? So in the chart style, I am going to make my paint a little bit thick. Let's go back here to my TradeStation platform. I'm going to go to Studies, add study. And this time I'm going to go here to PaintBars, exclamation JN, and here's my down bar. I'm going to click OK. And there we go. Now we're looking at the chart. Now we have green bars and we have red bars. So very easy to do. And now whatever the condition is, of course, you can plug it in into your paint bar and it'll do exactly as you tell it to. All right. Let's go ahead and a candlestick. Candlestick's already painted. You know, you see the up candles and the down candles. So this is mostly for an open high, low close type of chart. Let me go here to a different style. Let me go to candle. All right, let me remove the show me. I don't need it anymore. And I'm gonna work with a different idea now. Let's go here and add a study, add an RSI. Just a regular RSI. It's an indicator, RSI. And let's put it on a daily chart. Okay, let me remove account orders and positions. I don't want those to be distracting. I think I have a show me. Yeah, I think I accidentally added a show me. Okay, okay, right there at the bottom. About frees up space that you probably want to use for something else. So let's go ahead and create a paint bar that paints the candle anytime that is overbought or oversold. So these peaks that we're looking, the troughs and the peaks that we're looking for inside of the RSI, we're going to paint them inside of our candlesticks. How do we do that? Well, let's go back to my development environment. Let me create another paint bar. This will be exclamation JN. Let me do RSI first. RSI, overbought, oversold, OBOS. All right, so let's do for the RSI, you know, the RSI uses a default length of 14. Of course, if you want to have flexibility, you can probably add that as an input. I'm just going to use the default values so that we don't overcomplicate our code. I'm just going to go back or straight into our variables. And my variables is RSI, OB, and that's going to be numeric. Actually, no, this is OB. This is going to be true false. I'm going to initialize it to false. And the other one is RSI underscore. I'm not sure if I can use underscore. We'll test it and see. And this is oversold. OB for overbought, OS for oversold. And they're both going to be false, right? Okay. I also want to calculate an RSI value. And I'm going to call this my RSI, which is numeric. And I'll tell you, and we'll explain why is it numeric and while the other are. It'll make sense once you start assigning, you know, the calculations. I'm going to, first of all, calculate the RSI value and then determine whether it's overbought or oversold. That's all that I'm doing. So I need three variables for that. First is my RSI. How do we calculate RSI? Well, there is a function already built into TradeStation that is called RSI. In fact, as you type in the words RSI, notice that it comes up in this color, magenta. It's a snippet of code that you can just use it from within TradeStation. And the RSI needs two things. It needs two parameters. It needs the value on which it's calculating the RSI and the length for how long. In this case, I know I'm going to open up the parentheses because anytime that you have to provide parameters, they have to be inside parentheses. And the RSI is usually calculated on the closing price. So this will be the RSI of the close for 14 bars. 14 is a default parameter of that RSI. So that's all that I need to supply. I put it inside parentheses and it already calculates the RSI value for me. Now, RSI underscore OB equals my RSI is greater than 70. That's either true or false, right? Let me verify this. Okay, that is verified. I just want to make sure that I could use the underscore. So the RSI underscore OB is true if the RSI or the calculation that we're doing is above 70. And the RSI underscore oversold equals to my RSI less than 30. If it's less than 30, it's true, the oversold, right? And that's it. All you need to do is now create the paints. Let me see if I can build those two inside the same paint bar. This is something that I haven't tested, so we're going to test it here in class. I'm going to say if RSI underscore OB, then plot PB from high to low. I think we can provide a color here inside this plot PB. Let me go ahead and go to the definition of plot PB. Many times, and this is something you can do inside of your learning journey, any word that is blue or magenta, you can right click on it and go to a help document that provides you more information on how to use, that word or the reserved word or the function. Let's see. Yes, you can see here that we have an example where we have a plot PB, high, low, open, close. Then we have a label, and then we have a color at the very end. Same here for, plot PaintBar, top, bottom, area, and then it has blue. Let me go ahead and add a color here and see if it works. If it's overbought, I want to paint magenta. And then else, let's see. Let's do just one, magenta. Let's see if I can do another one. If RSI underscore OS, then plot PB high, low, cyan, if it's oversold. Maybe I should have done that backward, but let's go ahead and try this and see if it works. You verify? Okay. So the reason it's because I'm using it twice. This statement cannot specify an odd number of plots. Let's see. Let me remove one of these. We can probably need to separate these. Plot PB. This is a paint bar. Maybe because it needs a label. Let's see, overbought. Let's try this. Okay, that worked. So let me do the other side and see if I'm able to do the other side. RSI. So when you use the word inside of the parameters, it's actually missing the label. And that's why I added it, inside quotations. Oversold, then plot PB, high, low, then oversold, and then we do cyan. No, EasyLanguage is not case sensitive. Okay, so it's been used using a different name. That's what's going on. So we can say, let's call these the same, extreme. That way it's the same name, but just a different color. Okay, so that worked. Let me see if this applies well inside of my chart. So what I'm trying to do is do the both painting on the same indicator. Let me go back here to my TradeStation. Let's go here to studies, add study, and let's go to PaintBar. So this is exclamation JN RSI OBOS. All right. Oh, it is working. So take a look. Over here in this section where we had many of the candlesticks, many of the RSI values above the 70, you can see how the RSI right here at the bottom is turning red because it's above the 70 threshold. You can see that on my paint bar, it's doing that precisely. Every time that the closing price or the closing or the calculation of the RSI value is above 70, it's going to be painting that candle in magenta. The same happens here at the bottom. If we have this penetration on the bottom channel, our candlestick, it's turning magenta, which is pretty cool, huh? So now, since I have the RSI concept already built in as a paint bar, I can go ahead and get rid of this RSI and just rely on the paint bar that I just created. Because even in real time, when I'm looking at this chart, I should be able to see this current candle change color as the condition is being true. Now, I'm not sure if there's any symbol that is overbought or oversold at this precise moment, but as I change symbols here, I should be able to find one that is being bought or that is overbought or oversold. We see the overbought or oversold being painted many times for different symbols, but maybe if we do a scan, we can probably find one, but you can see how the indicator is flexible enough to find those overbought and oversold level. Let me go back here to the code so that we can review. So just as a recap, we created 3 different variables. One of the variables is just to calculate the RSI. We needed the RSI value to make comparisons and create our if-then statements, which are the rules that our paint bar will use to decide whether it's painting or not. Then these are the rules, the RSI greater than 70 and RSI lower than 30. And of course, we have if the RSI or the overbought condition is true, then we have our color. And if it's not, we have another color. One thing that you have to keep in mind is to make sure that you're using the same level for both. Otherwise, it'll create some sort of a conflict because it'll say you are already using the plot PB for another, you're using it again. Asking for sure. If I come over here on my this is the chart of Johnson & Johnson. If I go here to a 1-minute chart, you can see how the paint bar automatically adjusts to the time frame. So it's very flexible and it allows you to identify those areas on the chart. This is just the RSI, of course. You can continue to add more things. For example, let me go back here to my code. Let's say that we also wanted to bring in, let's see. So let's see. This is overbought, oversold. Let's say, for example, that I'm going to bring in another calculation. Let's say that we want to bring in the stochastic, my stochastic stock, we'll call it. Okay, and we'll say, don't want to complicate this too much, but I'm going to also calculate my stochastic, and this will use stochastic. Let me see what that function does. Let me go to definition stochastic, just to look at an example. It is a function, and this is the way that the stochastic function works. You have to supply all these parameters. Maybe I should have picked something simpler, but that's totally fine. Fast D, because it calculates the fast K, fast D, slow K, and slow D. So I think what we need is a slow K. Let's see. Just going to copy all this. and put it in here because this is a default calculation for the stochastic. I don't need the formula. I just need the parameters. Okay. And I can also look at, the stochastics over bot. So stock over bot, which is false, and stock underscore oversold here, because I'm going to define them as well. Sometimes I copy and paste to avoid any mistakes. And for the stochastics, I'm going to be looking at the O, it's a small o, and then slow k is greater than 70. And for the oversold, I'm going to be looking at the slow k less than 30. The reason why I'm looking at the slow k is because, let me go back here to the chart. Now, let me go ahead and add that stochastic study. So we have to have these variables as well, or declare these as variables. So let me go ahead and copy this. Go back here into my PaintBar, and let me go ahead and do a return here and paste. So we have the fast K. Those need to be declared as variables if we're going to be referencing those values. Now they're part of the function. You can see how the function, we typed it in, but all these 4 words need to be also declared as variables, numeric variables for the stochastic to calculate. Let me go ahead and verify this and see if it works. All right, we are expected a semicolon. I'm just going to add a comma there because it's the same list. Let's go ahead and verify one more time. It says unknown identifiers because I typed in this as by instead of if. And let's verify one more time. Okay, now we don't have any errors. We have multiple conditions. Let's go back here to my platform and see if it works. Now it sure does. Let me go here and add the RSI so that we can compare, RSI. Because if you guys notice, we have this little candle painted in blue, like the bright blue. And if you notice, it's because not only the stochastics is overbought, but also the RSI is overbought. So when you have, conditions that are aligned like this, you have an additional color. So you have like the regular. Let me see if I find any. Oh, and these particular ones, yeah, those are also painted in blue because it meets the condition for both. Let me see if I find the original one, which was magenta. I'm not really sure if this is always the case. Like, for example, right here, I'm not sure if stochastic is always overbought when the RSI is overbought. I doubt it. But here, every time that the RSI was overbought, it seemed to have painted my candlestick, which is okay. I mean, that could have happened. That could easily happen. I was looking for a condition where it wasn't really aligned like this, where the RSI was overbought, but not the stochastics, but they seem to follow each other pretty closely. But this is just an example on how you can combine, multiple conditions if you want to have alignment between them, all right? I think that is going to be my class for today before I get dropped again from the internet. But I like to do these exercises so that you have a sample of what is the potential with EasyLanguage. I always say that you are not really expected to become an expert, but at least have the notion of how EasyLanguage works, just in case you want to make a modification to something that is supplied with TradeStation, or you want to introduce a new idea that you probably thought of on any technical indicator that we supply, and then you can make those modifications by having this little bit of knowledge of EasyLanguage. We have a team in the forums that is dedicated to answering questions. So if you have any questions on how to accomplish something in programming, I mean, they're available to you every day so that you can get those questions answered. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you everyone for, joining me today. And again, I apologize for all the technical difficulties that I had. We do the masterclass every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure that you join us and look at the calendar for all the upcoming topics that we're going to be covering. So thank you for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.